Hello and welcome back to the GameShow Global Esports Cup here on azuba.tv/GameShow_D2EN. Thanks for tuning in for game number 2. Game number 1 was quite exciting. Sorry about the amount of speaking in game number 1, for lack of a better term. Thanks for the feedback. I'll try to keep the pacing a little bit slower this game and make it less a burden to listen to. Sorry about that. I tend to speak very quickly when I'm solo casting. I get a little bit lost in the game, but, well, moving on to game number 2. The draft already well underway. We have Night Stalker, Darkseer, Juggernaut, Anti-Mage, Doom, Io, Queen of Pain, and Shadow Fiend being banned out. Those are our first picks being Dazzle Gyrocopter for Ninjas in Pajamas. If it's not broke, don't fix it. This is a very comfortable opening coming out from them. We saw the power of Era's Gyrocopter in game number 1, and in general, the Graves were on point coming out from Ninjas in Pajamas Dazzle. Monkey Freedom Fighters, Magnus Tusk will be their opener. I really like the bans in response from the Magnus and Tusk opening. They really are partial to the Magnus plus Juggernaut combo. We saw Sing Sing's Juggernaut in game number 1, but it really did feel like his Omni Slashes weren't all that impressive. But when you combo up those Omni Slashes with some Battle Fury, or from Cleave, not from Battle Fury, but from Magnus's Empower, and then you get him in close quarters with Reverse Polarity, can be absolutely amazing. Ninjas in Pajamas will pick up the Earthshaker, a bit of a defensive opener from them, but in general, Ninjas in Pajamas do like going for more defensive strats, and we've seen in game number 1 how well they're able to execute at that level. Ninjas in Pajamas were able to pull together some really impressive fights, even though they were significantly behind when it came to the item progression of their heroes. As soon as you got the BKB on the Gyrocopter and the TA in game number 1, immediately it's fight after fight after fight going in their favor, and Monkey Freedom Fighters BKB on the Shadow Fiend meant very much less than the ones that were picked up by NIP. Clockworks now going to be picked up by Monkey Freedom Fighters. A nice response to the Earthshaker. If you can get on top of them, a great way for them to start the initiation. But right now, Monkey Freedom Fighters are lacking a little bit of the damage early on, which is going to make it difficult for them to punish NIP going for these defensive supports. With the vast amount of pressure put on initiation for Monkey Freedom Fighters, Ninjas in Pajamas have a lot of ways to turn around the fights. With an Earthshaker Fissure, with the Dazzle Shallow Grave, there's a lot of ways for them to slow things down and look for a good counter initiation. And I think Ninjas in Pajamas in general are very well equipped to deal with Monkey Freedom Fighters picks, at least their first couple ones. Although, of course, Lena's great at following up after the Tuscan Clockwork initiation. She is going to find it maybe a little bit difficult to get into the middle of the fray. This should be a support Lena for them. The times that I've seen them go for the Magnus, it should be a Rise, and it should be in the mid lane. 9 times out of 10. Especially if they already have another offlaner for themselves. Support Tuscalina lacking the safe lane farmer Monkey Freedom Fighters. Wonder what it's going to be for Sing Sing. Ninjas in Pajamas now have to show something from their draft, either their mid or their offlane. The offlane pool is looking rather slim. Magnus, Clockwork, Tusk are some of the best offlaners in the game right now, or at least the Tusk and the Clockwork. I think Magnus is a little bit more arguable. But they've already been picked up by Monkey Freedom Fighters, and Doom, Darkseer, Nightstalker have been banned, leaving a lot of the top-tier European offlaners at the very least. Very few and far between. Maybe they decide to go for something a little bit less conventional, or something that's a little bit more popular in the other scenes. The South Americans especially like their Spirit Breaker, and Ninjas in Pajamas might pick that up, but for now it's going to be a mid-Wind Ranger for them. A very potent pick, and a very good one at that. Ninjas in Pajamas feel like they just have an incredibly reliable draft, and with their style of play and with their level of execution, I think that reliable pace for them is going to suit them nicely. Disruptor will be the ban coming out from Monkey Freedom Fighters. It would have been a reasonable pick for Ninjas in Pajamas if they want to throw this Earthshaker into the offlane, which might be a little bit more attractive this game than most, because there's just not very many good heroes left for that offlane role for Ninjas in Pajamas, and Tiny will be the ban from NIP. Even without the IO, Tiny is a very potent safe lane farmer and does so much damage with the Avalanche Toss combination. Get Blink Daggers up on the Magnus, on the Tiny, and you are controlling engagements left, right, and center with every single one of your heroes being able to set up a gank. One way or another. Yeah, the Clockwork just naturally with his hookshot would have been able to jump in there, and ideal if he gets on top of the Earthshaker. Could be very difficult for NIP to respond to that. The Sing Sing hero of this game is going to be an Ember Spirit for them. This is their hero to benefit from the Empower Cleave of the Magnus. And I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't get panned out earlier by NIP, but now that they have to deal with it, they might be lacking a little bit of lockdown for this Ember. They might need something a little bit more from their offlane spot. Not a lot of time to think about it, however. Ninjas in pajamas. Let's see what this offlaner is going to be for them. I'm not exactly sure what the best scenario for them is, but right now they rely very heavily on the shackles connecting in order to kill off this Ember Spirit, and they want something a little bit more reliable than that. But the general reliable offlaners to lock down an Ember Spirit that come to mind aren't really there, so it looks like NIP are going to go for the Earthshaker in the offlane and pick up another support in the Winter Wyvern. A reasonable choice for them. Winter's Curse can be so very powerful if you're getting clumped up, and with so many melee heroes, Monkey Freedom Fighters could very easily get stuck in a corner inside these fights. I'm kind of favoring NIP's draft a little bit more because it suits their playstyle, and in general NIP are maybe a little bit more reliable a team than Monkey Freedom Fighters, but if Monkey Freedom Fighters are able to find the initiations and work very well off of this Magnus's Blink Dagger in particular, and we've seen Arise do amazing things on this mag, they could very easily take this game out. So, very interesting to see how they perform and what's going to come mostly of this Magnus. I think that's the X-Factor hero for Monkey Freedom Fighters that could turn the tables in their side. It is only a slight draft advantage, I'd say, for NIP. As they go out to these lanes, let's see who's going to secure the bounty rune towards either side. Magnus could very well skill obscure, and it's also worth noting that Magnus's set is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think you'd expect anything less from Arise. NIP really want this rune for their Wind Ranger to go in mid lane. It's not a very bad matchup for Wind Ranger at all. In fact, with the ranged advantage and with a similar amount of spam with the Power Shot compared to Shockwave, although Shockwave might be a little bit better, Wind Ranger should have an edge. I don't think there's another way to look at it. She is going to constantly have a little bit more farm than this mag, and in general is going to be doing better in lane and has more killing potential too. Even if Magnus is able to pull off a skewer back under tower, Wind Run 9 times out of 10 is going to keep the Wind Rangers safe unless there's somebody else following up, which for this rune battle might be the case. Looks like NIP have decided instead just to give them that rune and instead pick up the bottom one for the Wind Ranger. No level 1 skirmish for now. Magnus going to secure this bounty rune. I don't think anybody's going to come here, but down towards bottom area, the Sing Sing Ember Spirit is going to be isolated a little bit and takes a lot of damage walled up by that fissure. The Ember Spirit's going to go down. Beautiful wall off coming out from NIP, and that is going to be a first blood for their Earthshaker as well as a bounty rune for their Wind Ranger. This is a great start for them. Under normal circumstances, Earthshaker getting first blood isn't that big of a deal, but this is an offlane shaker. It's going to help at his laning stage so very much. And doesn't really miss a beat. He's going to fissure block off the creeps to get the equilibrium back in his favor as they snowball in mid. Going for this Wind Ranger. Nice skewer back. The Wind Ranger has Wind Run available and will be forced to use that now. Can they secure this kill after the fact? I don't think so. Security is going to take a long time, and I don't think Demon's going to be able to get in range for that Light Strike array, but here comes Sing Sing from the south. Wind Ranger's course to safety really isn't that very impressive here. She has another Wind Run cooling down. The chains will connect. Wind Run is going to be popped. Light Strike misses. Wind Ranger juking them out. Can she actually get out of here alive? That's insane. They're going to call for attention. She's going to cut through the trees, running through the neutrals. Is she going to try to find a deny? This is so much time used by the Wind Ranger. Skewer, and that's going to be a kill. That was a marathon. An absolute marathon. As Windrunner runs for a long time, but in the end it's going to be brought down. Monkey Freedom Fighters have to give it so much, however, this gives a lot of space, in particular to the Shaker, who's now going to start off the game 2.5 when it comes to his levels, and still a couple of creeps haven't died in this wave compared to an Ember Spirit that is only level 1.5. Also, Earthshaker getting this first blood. This could be an incredibly fast Blink Dagger coming from him. NIP also get a lot of farm on the Winter Wyvern, which is not something you see often, but the mid lane was left completely unattended. So now a very fast level 2 for the Wyvern on top of it all, as NIP are going to abuse the space that was created by the Wind Ranger. Even though she dies, her laning stage against the Magnus isn't going to be all that terrible. Down towards bottom lane, they tried to chase down the Earthshaker. One more auto attack's all that they need, and they should be able to find it. He's going to tango through a couple of these trees. Will successfully juke them out. Are you going to get out of here? One more auto attack from the Tusk, and he's going to die. Nice attempt, but it's going to cost him all of his regen that he had remaining. And just like that, Monkey Freedom Fighters are back in control in this bottom lane. Earthshaker is not renowned for his lane presence. Clockwork in the top lane is level 2.5. It's very hard to deny out the Clock's experience, but with the amount of range heroes in this lane, with the amount of killing potential they have, even with no natural stuns that they're going to have, just the ability to run him down with Rocket Barrage is enough to make IX Mike think twice about coming into this lane. Down towards bottom. Earthshaker has been spotted out by an Observer Ward and is potentially going to get walled off here. This could be another kill, although the chains are going to miss from Sing Sing. Now he has some TP support. Maybe turning around on his Sing Sing is an option. He has 1 point in each of his spells, but won't quite be able to get in range as the TP in from the Dazzle has since been cancelled. Magnus 6-1 compared to a 10-4 win ranger. I don't think anybody's surprised here. Rise should still be able to have an impact this game, however, even though he's getting outlast hit. This is as expected. Down towards bottom, Ice Shard Snowball connects onto the Earthshaker. He'll be able to back off under his tower, and he's going to be just fine. Nothing too unusual when it comes to the item builds from these heroes. Really, the first major items to look out for are the Blink Daggers to really amp up the aggression from both of these teams. We'll have to keep an eye on if anything peculiar comes out from any of these players, but right now, another even start to this laning stage, with a slight advantage maybe towards Monkey Freedom Fighters because Sing is getting a lot of farm and has been involved in 2 kills, despite dying once for First Blood. The First Blood death doesn't slow down your Ember Spirit too much. He doesn't lose a lot from it and is still able to get back to lane eventually, although after a long chase on Wind Ranger, who is going to narrowly avoid a skewer. Magnus is not going to be able to get that kill. Even if that skewer connects, I don't think Wind Ranger would have been in that much trouble. It's really hard to lock her in place. She had already used her Wind Run, so that wouldn't have been an option, but she is sitting on a comfortable amount of HP. Tier 1 tower in top lane is going to be heavily pressured as NIP keep this Clockwork at arm's length, but still IX Mike is inside experience range and will be able to find level 3 from these creeps. He's desperately trying to pull off the aggro from these melee units to try and save his tower as much as he can. It's going to be really difficult. He's already at about half, but he has a Tusk behind him. There is potential for a turn, but not too much. It looks like that's not going to be an option. Ice Shards will be thrown. Dazzle's going to be point-blank snowballed, but the tower aggro is going towards the Winter Wyvern. Even though a Flare is going to connect, the Dazzle will be just fine. Earthshaker has his arcane boots down in the bottom lane. This is a very farm shaker, but similar to the Clockwork, does need to be very careful. The chains, the Light Strike will connect, and Earthshaker will go down inside the creep wave. And those TPs, although there were 2 of them expent, are going to be cancelled very swiftly by the side of NIP as they realize that Earthshaker's life was pretty much forfeit. There's no way to get him out of there alive. Tier 1 tower on the bottom spot is also going to take a significant amount of damage, in fact more than the Radiance Tier 1. The first tower of the game is going to fall in the favor of Monkey Freedom Fighters with the death of that Earthshaker, and with those TPs being cancelled, there's nobody available for them to be able to defend that. First 5 minutes of the game are going quite well for Monkey Freedom Fighters as they found themselves with more than a 1,500 net worth advantage and a slight experience lead. TPing in the mid lane, Arise's bottle is going to be refilled, and even though the Magnus started out on the back foot against this Wind Ranger, has really picked up the farm, and the 1 kill on the Magnus is going to mean that Arise is actually the top net worth inside this game, already halfway towards his Blink Dagger. Up in top, the Clockwork is going to take a lot of Arctic Burn damage with the heal from the Dazzle. IX Mike is going to get run down, but it looks like he is going to survive. Drops the cogs, and I don't think he's going to die, but in mid lane, maybe. The Wind Ranger, not so lucky. The Shockwave is going to miss. They bring in the Magnus inside the Snowball. Cold Embrace is there. They're going to push that Snowball a lot closer towards the large camp. The Flare will connect a Shockwave too, and Wind Ranger turns for a nice shackle. I have no idea how that latches, but it buys her a little bit more time. She has another Wind Run going towards North. Ice Shards will wall her in, but don't do damage. Shockwave, and Magnus secures it. Arise with the pickoff is going to get him another kill inside this game, and on his lane opponent, no less. Very close to that Blink Dagger, and it is not impossible for Arise to just run away with this game with the amount of space that he's picking up. 4-1. Monkey Freedom Fighters still maintain this lead. Their Ember Spirits item progression has gone for a very standard fare, just the cost-effective items to bulk him up inside this game. But even with just the experience, Sing Sing can contribute a lot when it comes to looking for dives. This ward placed down towards bottom, just outside of range of the tower's vision. They spot out the Earthshaker with that rotation. Ember Spirit will be free farming here. Although Sing Sing can TP in and look to contribute to these ganks, he doesn't necessarily have to. He's Monkey Freedom Fighters' only major source of scaling damage, and they do need to make sure that he has a good time. Wind Ranger is going to rotate up towards top lane. She has 2 points to the shackle, 4 into the power shot, more than enough to kill off a Clockwork, but it looks like IX Mike smells something's coming. And if nothing else, he didn't have mana, and is going to walk all the way back towards base with the magic wand and the robe towards his blade mail completed. NIP really want this tier 1 tower up towards top lane, but it comes to the cost of a lot of space given towards Monkey Freedom Fighters, and this Magnus Blink Dagger is going to be incredibly fast. Expect it to be there even before 8 minutes. Whew. A lot of animation canceling there coming out from the RP. If nothing else is going to juke out the Earthshaker, Gyrocopter gets the tower destruction top lane. They'll get that structure they've been working for so long, but it feels like Monkey Freedom Fighters are the ones to get their initiation items up faster and are the ones that have potential to build up a lot of momentum here. Clockwork also going to find his level 6 very shortly to get that hookshot added to the mix too. The Blink Dagger on a rise is finished and is going to be flying out in the courier shortly. Where is this first gank going to happen? I'd expect maybe him just to sit in mid lane and catch the Wind Ranger off guard with a Blink RP. It's 8 minutes in. You might be thinking that Magnus could be getting close, but you don't necessarily expect the Magnus to have it, although this Magnus does have 2 kills, so maybe NIP are privy to that fact. Winter Wyverns deep behind enemy lines. Not sure exactly what the plan here is, just to secure the rune, it seems. The Tusk is going to be here with the Ice Shards, and won't be able to, well, if anything, TP out by IX Mike. No way to cancel it. One of the weaknesses of NIP's draft is the fact that all of their stunts are in the off lane in the mid lane, so they're not able to punish the Clockwork as he gets out to safety. Now, grouping up in mid, the Lina is going to buddy up with this smoked up Magnus, and Arise wants to find this initiation on the Wind Ranger, and I think she's going to get caught out with it. There's your RP. Skewer back on her tower. Beautifully done. The fault from the Light Strike is there, but it misses. Still, the Flare connects, and IX Mike gets the kill from the top lane, contributing globally for the team, and they'll be able to find themselves a nice pickoff for Monkey Freedom Fighters. 5-1. A roaring start for them, and I'd expect every time they have an RP to be available for Arise to make a very similar play, although maybe not in the mid lane again, but group up with his team, look for a smoke, and look for pickoffs. Monkey Freedom Fighters have maintained the slight advantage to the early game. That said, we saw NIP also not doing terribly amazing in the early game in the first game of this series, and NIP have a lot of abilities that could turn around some of these ganks, but another initiation in mid, it's going to be just the Blink Skewer this time onto the Earthshaker. They'll blow him up with a little bit of help from Demon. Nicely done there. 6-1. Monkey Freedom Fighters have a very significant lead, and still, we haven't forgot about Sing Sing. He's down this bottom lane farming up an absolute storm. 1650 gold inside the bank. Probably Boots of Travel for this Ember Spirit next to allow him to be everywhere at once. The map mobility from the Ember Spirit of with the Fire Remnants as well as with the Boots of Travel is absolutely immense. Well, things have slowed down a little bit, but Clockwork has found himself as level 6, and in fact is almost level 7. IX Mike is another tool that Monkey Freedom Fighters can look to use to apply pressure to NIP and make sure that this Wind Ranger and Gyrocopter don't get a safe place to farm on this map. This is the time for Monkey Freedom Fighters to seize control over the playing field, and let's see if they're able to do just that. RP is going to cool down in about 30 seconds as Arise will probably farm a couple of stacks in the downtime. With Empower, with the Shockwave spam, we'll be able to mop up this double stack very easily, especially with the help of the Lina and the Tusk. They don't need to be in the other lanes. The Ember Spirit is left 1v0. He's a happy camper, and now the smoke is going to be thrown by them. Blink, Skewer initiation on the Wind Ranger, right into the Snowball. Light Strike Array is going to miss again, and this time around she's able to turn for a Shackle onto Tusk as well, as the Lina big Echo Slam with the Heal Bomb. They're going to kill off the Tusk in return. The Ember Spirit's going to join the fray with a Flare landing onto 4. A lot of damage there as a call down will be thrown towards the north that doesn't clip onto anything, even though it would have been enough damage for sure to kill off the Lina, and maybe enough to finish off a kill on the Clockwork. NIP get a great turnaround off the back of that Echo. It's so very rare that you see Echo Slam being that relevant in these early fights prior to the Blink Dagger of the Earthshaker, but Monkey Freedom Fighters clump up of their own accord inside that mid lane, and in a really awkward spot too. The Shackle is enough to buy Wind Ranger a little bit more time, and she's able to very freely survive because the combination off the back of that Skewer wasn't clean. The Light Strike Array doesn't connect, and Demon unfortunately not able to make that happen. But still, the Lina survives. The only casualty is the Tusk. It could have been a lot worse for Monkey Freedom Fighters, and they don't use their RP, so the next time around they can probably get that kill. NIP have brought this game to about the same net worth advantage that Monkey Freedom Fighters have been sitting on for a long time, but a Blink RP in mid, they capture the Wind Ranger. This time around, the Light Strike Array is on the money, and they should be able to burst her down, but they don't have mana for the Lagoon Blade. With a Shallow Grave, Wind Ranger again is going to survive. She's not in lethal range from the Clockwork's Flare, even though it has been maxed out. IX Mike can't actually get that because of the heals coming out from the Dazzle and the Bottle. Wind Ranger is going to survive, and another failed gank, unfortunately, for Monkey Freedom Fighters, and this one did involve the RP. By no means are they doing poorly. All their KDs are looking great, but those were from a couple minutes ago. The momentum for Monkey Freedom Fighters is starting to wane here, as the Gyrocopter is picking up a lot of farm, and now Magnus is going to be bumped into as he picks up the Bounty Rune in the top half of the map. Clockwork has a hookshot, however, so maybe this is the time for IX Mike to shine and set up a kill. For now, he's been involved in a couple and even got that snipe on the Wind Ranger with the long range flare, but hasn't been involved with the hookshot yet. NIP are very grouped and can respond if they try to initiate a little too overzealously, so Monkey Freedom Fighters do need to respect the power of the gyrocopter in particular. We saw how strong Arrow is on this gyrocopter last game, and I don't think this one will be an exception. An Ancient stack has yet to be prepared for the NIP side, although Gyrocopter does benefit very heavily from having those stacks up and running for himself. They're not available yet, so Monkey Freedom Fighters don't have to contest that, and it's also something that NIP might be a little bit lacking. But now that Gyrocopter's around the area, he's going to make a stack for himself and will look to accelerate his farm that way. Despite how explosive Monkey Freedom Fighters were for the first couple minutes of this game, NIP have been keeping up by nature of farming very efficiently on the map and keeping pace with the enemy team, and they're going to get this Blink Dagger in the Earthshaker very soon, but he might die here. Drops the Echo Slam, might be able to turn the Sun onto 2 with the Winter's Curse onto Sing Sing. Ember Spirit has a defensive remnant, I think. Can he even get it off? The damage is too high. Wind Ranger power shot, and that's going to be the kill. The Tusk is caught out inside the sidelines. The right click damage, he's getting spied out by the creep, salving up, not going to save you. And a great turn. That kill on the Earthshaker is very important if they're able to pull it off to delay his Blink Dagger, but Monkey Freedom Fighters really just not able to do that much. Ember Spirit was trying to use his remnants aggressively. He didn't actually have one defensively back towards his tower, and it really is going to come at the cost. He wasn't even come at the cost of his own life, but he wasn't even able to activate the remnants that were on the ground. If he were, maybe killing off that Earthshaker quicker would have been an option for them. But eventually, they do get the pick. It is going to cost the Earthshaker a little bit of gold, but a Blink RP. Skewer in mid, the action's still going to keep up. Light Strike is on the money. They have the Laguna Blade. They will need to spend it, but it's after the Shallow Grave, and again, the Wind Ranger will buy herself a lot of space. Here comes Sing Sing. He has the chains. We'll connect him with the Shockwave. Rises dominating. Kills off the Wind Ranger. They've looked for that gank so many times, and it's worked out enough to where that's a successful move coming out from Monkey Freedom Fighters. Magnus is still in the top of the net worth chart. Force Staff is going to be done very quickly. It's so very rare that you get these utility items up so fast, but Magnus is having good enough time to where that is the case, and now with the hookshot they're going to look for a gank under this Earthshaker who really just wants his Blink Dagger. That's all. Radiant team don't have vision up in this top area, so they're not going to be able to spot out this Earthshaker right now. If we take a look at the Radiant wards, they have one in the middle area, which is where they've been fighting more often than not, and it was attempted to be dewarded by the Dire side, but unsuccessfully so, just outside of the range. But for the most part, Monkey Freedom Fighters' aggressive vision is lacking a little bit, and I think Demon is going to try to remedy that as he purchases up a couple of wards to refresh those out on the map. It is about that 14-minute mark when your second set of wards is starting to expire. Force Staff is up for the Magnus. I've seen Arise do some amazing plays with the Force Staff RPs, and in general just owns on the hero. 4-0 and 1. His KD's reflecting that, but now Smoke from NIP. They're around the corner. They bump into Sing Sing. Sing Sing's gonna get Winter's Curse. The follow-up disable should be there. Ooh, the Enchant Totem's a little bit late, and they don't have an Echo Slam, so Ember Spirit is able to remnant out to safety. But Shackle Shot onto the Tusk. He's not gonna be so lucky. With the Rocket Barrage, Tusk is going to be forced to defensively snowball a Laguna Blade onto Era. With the Shallow Grave again, the Gyrocopter's life is going to be extended, but not for long. Here comes the Ember Spirit. IX Mike gets the killing spree, taking so many of those kills with the flare. Sing Sing will be shackled to a tree. The Ember Spirit will be shot down by the power shot. Inside the cogs, they'll turn around on the clockwork. He can't get that enchant totem off. Skewer onto 2, gets a double kill for a Rise. Nicely done. Now inside the trees, Winter Wyvern will throw the blast. Another shackle will connect. Not enough to buy the time for the Winter Wyvern. Triple kill for Rise. Wicked sick on this Magnus, looking for the RP. Not gonna find it onto the Wind Ranger. She'll be a little further back. Although he was prepared if he found a Wind Ranger that was sticking around too long. 12-6 is our kill score. Although they do lose their Ember Spirit, and that is a very unfortunate loss for Monkey Freedom Fighters. The gold exchange is vastly in their favor, especially for their clockwork and the mag. Early farm on these heroes can mean a lot. The Blade Mail's already done, and after just recently picking up the Force Staff, Magnus has his Arcane Boots. This is all of the items Magnus needs to be effective, and from here on out, go for like an Assault Cuirass, a Shadow Blade. I think Magnus might consider going for the Shadow Blade this game. No, they're still on the hunt. Monkey Freedom Fighters want to keep up this pressure, and because Sing Sing has died a handful of times and hasn't gotten any of these kills, although he's been involved in 7, has not gotten a single last hit on them, is a little bit further behind than they'd like him to be. So they want to evolve Sing Sing in a fight that he doesn't die. It is going to be increasingly difficult as this game goes on. Once the Gyrocopter and the Wind Ranger scale and damage output, and the Sing Sing Ember Spirit is still a little bit lacking. Tier 1 tower up towards top lane is going to help their gold income flow here for Monkey Freedom Fighters, and it looks like they should be able to take this without a fight coming out from NIP. The hookshot's online, the RP's online. This is so very dangerous for them to be up inside this top lane. The Clockwork IX Mike right now does have eyes on the Winter Wyvern, and it looks like she might be in a lot of trouble. Force Staff, Blink, Skewer, and they're going to bring the Winter Wyvern right back into the Ember Spirit. Winter's Curse is onto Arise. Call Down will connect into pretty much everything. Shackle, however, is not going to latch, and Arise barely limping out of here. One right click, he's going to turn for the RP. Arise, you're going to get out of here? Are you kidding me? He blinks out, he TP's home, and the RP is going to save his life. That was beautifully done, but it comes to the cost again of Sing Sing's life, as NIP still get a favorable exchange, and it might get even better with a nice fissure clipping onto 2. IX Mike has a hook shot if he really needs to get out of here, so it looks like he's going to be fine, as the Tusk is going to give up his life so the Clockwork will live. The hook shot is going to be there to creep wave. Shackle shot will connect the Tusk to a tree, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 exchange. Alar's Punch will fly, Fissure jams at home, and Earthshaker now has his Blink Dagger and has a little bit of gold on top of it after that kill. 13-9 after the dust settles. And IP still get an advantageous trade, even though Arise makes a miraculous escape. That's ridiculous. This guy's 7-0-2, showing why he is regarded as one of, if not the best Magnus player in the world. And IP will keep up the pressure in mid lane with a double damage on Wind Ranger, but right now don't have the focus fire available, so this DD looks like it's not going to mean much, if anything, because Monkey Freedom Fighters are back up and running with the majority of their lineup. Even though the Gyrocopter is super stacked, Era has the full Sanjin Yasha and pretty much everything he could want, it doesn't feel like that's going to outright win these fights for NIP because of how well the Magnus has been playing. And even with the Ember Spirit far behind, since this Magnus is doing so well, he has 2 point something in power, and it's going to be maxed out very shortly. Once Arise has that maxed out in power, damage items or not, the Ember Spirit Sleight of Fist is still going to be a relevant factor inside these fights. And once he has the Battle Fury plus the Empower Cleave, it really is going to stack up. Then you get the Daedalus, it gets gross if Magnus is on point with the initiations. And for now, he has been. Monkey Freedom Fighters have maintained a significant advantage this entire game, but it really hasn't been made much larger than the 3,000 net worth lead that they've had. And experience is almost dead even. NIP still have shown that they can take engagements, especially with this Blink Dagger on the Earthshaker. Although, for the most part, Earthshaker has been brought down very early on inside these fights. One good Echo Slam is all you need. Gyrocopter is going to be working towards his BKB next, and it looks like Era's going to have that fairly swiftly. About 2,000 gold till that's done, but right now Monkey Freedom Fighters have a smoke wraparound on the enemy team. They're going to find the Gyrocopter, RPM away, and the Laguna Blade, I believe, still connects. Magnus is on a monster kill spree. That was pretty. They're going to get the hook shot in. They catch the Winter Wyvern, bounce back the Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle. It looks like with that, they're going to have to play a little bit more defensively. As NIP are too far away, although the Ice Shot's going to be fishing. Winter Wyvern stuck inside the trees. Looks like Winter Wyvern isn't going to be detected. The Radiant team have no idea for now, and really wouldn't be comfortable diving under that tower. Sing Sing's going to TP towards the top. He gets an Empower on the way out from the Magnus, as the Tusk is going to take a nuke coming out from the power shot of the Wind Ranger, I believe, on the retreat. But it looks like it is going to be a successful one coming out from Monkey Freedom Fighters. As far as the item progression on the other heroes, not the Magnus, not the Ember Spirit, not the cores in this game is concerned, we're getting close to a Tusk mechanism, actually incredibly close. Less than 200 gold till they have that available. Monkey Freedom Fighters will be able to very easily sustain through these fights, even though they have no natural healing. That mechanism means so much when it's picked up about this 21 minute mark, which it will be. The Lina is going to be working towards the Yule Scepter, although that's going to be heavily delayed. Similarly, on the enemy side, the Dazzle's items are going to be not coming out anytime soon. Only the brown boots and the magic wand. Still, the Graves have been on point, even though Dazzle's KD is by no means flashy. He's doing his job and doesn't need much more. I like that the Winter Wyvern's getting more farm this game than what we saw in game number 1 from that Winter Wyvern, where you really weren't able to see the Glimmer Cape come up at a reasonable timing window. I think this Winter Wyvern will still be able to get something completed by the end of this game. Smoked up. Ninjas in Pajamas are ready and willing to look for a pickoff, and maybe it's just going to be on this Tuscan mid. They should have a pretty good idea that somebody's going to be alone in this mid lane, and they place down an Observe Ward in this high ground. They should spot out this Tusk very shortly, and they will. Fissure will open up, blink and enchant totem, easy kill for them. Not much expend, really. They don't have to use any of their big cooldown ultimates. Smoke for a kill, they'll be happy with it. But now they need to deal with this top lane push. Sing Sing has been split pushing in this lane, although Ember Spirit's tower damage isn't that impressive. It's still enough since nobody else is here. The Earthshaker is going to be leading the charge. He has a Blink Echo at the ready. Ember Spirit's going to be forced to defensively remnant out as soon as he sees the secondary TP from the Winter Wyvern. And Sing Sing will be just fine. Sing Sing will be just fine. Arise is going to go for his Shadow Blade as his next item. I think this is a fine choice. Just invest on as many items as you need to make sure that you find the best RP angles as possible. And Rise is amazing at looking at those opportunities and then taking them after the fact. With the Blink 4 staff, that max amount of mobility is going to be stellar. Absolutely awesome for him. 14 to 10, however, NIP still have a very stacked gyrocopter, and even though for the most part Monkey Freedom Fighters have been the ones to take these engagements and to start these engagements, the gyrocopter has been bubbling under the surface for a while now. Once he has the BKB up and running, Era is going to be a menace inside these fights. So farm up Ancients, and that BKB is going to be coming out very soon. They'll spot out those Ancients with a nicely placed flare by IX Mike, as it looks like Monkey Freedom Fighters are ready to group up with all of their cooldowns at the ready, and they want to catch this gyrocopter as he's farming inside his Ancients. But Era is going to be back towards base. He doesn't have a lot of mana, doesn't really want to spend those wand charges, and more than anything, I think he smells a gank coming up. When a flare connects, your first thought should be, hey, we really don't want to be here. The Observer Ward is going to be placed by Monkey Freedom Fighters right on top of a Sentry, although I'm not sure if they're going to be able to de-ward this quickly enough. The Sentry might expire, but it looks like they are going to be here in time, as Ninjas in Pajamas are ready for the counterplay. They have a Blink Echo Slam if Monkey Freedom Fighters show themselves, but for now, the only heroes that they've spotted out were the ones that showed inside the river. Most importantly, the Tuscan. Sing Sing is about to show himself to the creep wave soon. He's going to start mopping up this creep wave down towards bottom lane, as Monkey Freedom Fighters are going to start applying pressure to this tier 2 tower in the bottom lane. But NIP are prepared for this and have an amazing tower defense team. Not even just for high ground, but even for these outer tier towers. Their team fight is absurd if NIP find a good jump. And Monkey Freedom Fighters recognize that and really don't want to give them that opportunity to respond. They'll use this time where Ninjas in Pajamas have been grouped up a little bit, responding to the Monkey Freedom Fighters push to get some farm inside their own woods, which is fine. Things have slowed down for a lot. It's been a while since we've seen our last RP, but with the haste run on Magnus, this push down towards bottom might net them a good RP angle. Monkey Freedom Fighters see the Wind Ranger, see the gyrocopter, but they should know that everybody else is behind them. You don't show your gyrocopter behind the tower like that unless you are 100% confident that you're not going to get cut out. But Magnus, he has an Invis rune, he has a haste rune, he has a 4-staff blink dagger. This is an incredibly mobile mag. Although, this was, I believe, spotted out by the Dire Observer Ward, and he's not interested in looking for the initiation down towards bottom. They're going to invade the enemy woods. It's drawn out on the map by the Winter Wyvern. Both teams have a good idea of where the other ones are, and in the end, it's just going to be traded farm across the map. Monkey Freedom Fighters will take the enemy woods, well, Ninjas in Pajamas take their enemy woods. It really is just a fairly slow back and forth. BKB is up for the gyrocopter. Battle Fury is done for the Ember Spirit. The item progression for both sides is going to line up quite nicely as Ninjas in Pajamas moving the Roshan pit. This is a scary place for them to fight. The Flare scouts it out, and I think they just have to book it. There's no real reason for them to stay inside this pit because of how powerful Battle Fury Ember Spirit is inside the pit, but also combined with the Magnus. Already Mag by himself, it's terrifying when you're in such close quarters with the RP. Add Empower Battle Fury on an Ember Spirit to that, and it is terrifying. Monkey Freedom Fighters have so much damage, even though the Ember Spirit only has that one completed item. And that's scary. It really is. Cleave stacks additively, it's going to be a huge amount inside the next couple of fights, but Rise is invised up with the rune. He doesn't need a Shadow Blade, that will be finished in just a little bit. And maybe he's able to find an angle as NIP rotate towards this top lane to deal with Sing Sing's push. Although, they are going to play things a little bit more on the defensive. Monkey Freedom Fighters will drop a defensive remnant for their Ember Spirit as he TPs down to the bottom lane and could, in theory, be able to join this fight, although I think they have a pretty good idea where the Ember Spirit was at one point. Magnus, Blink RP, catches out the Winter Wyvern in mid, Light Strike Array, and they don't even need the Laguna Blade here, we'll just Dragon Slam him down as Demon secures the kill. The Shackle isn't going to latch, everybody else from Monkey Freedom Fighters is going to retreat. Because they've been holding on to this RP for such a long time, I think it's probably worth it just to take out one kill, especially since the Winter Wyvern is a very crucial part of the engagement for Ninjas in Pajamas. Even without RP, Monkey Freedom Fighters can still take engagements if the Clockwork initiations are on point. 3-0 and 5 on the Clockwork, Rise 8-0 and 3. The initiating heroes for Monkey Freedom Fighters are really making the game for them right now. The Shadow Blade will be flying out to Rise in just a second. That's a haste rune, and Invis hasted Magnus is absolutely terrifying. And we'll have to see if they're able to find an opportunity, but right now there's not a lot of give and take from either of these teams. The advantage for Monkey Freedom Fighters, although it is still there at about that 4,500 net worth mark and 5,000 experience mark, is only one fight away from being back down to even if NIP are able to turn it. And they have so many good abilities at turning it. I talked about it so much this game, about how good Winter Wyvern and Earthshaker are at counter-initiating, but it really is true. These are some of the best late-game support-type heroes to have on your team, even though the Earthshaker was laned inside the off lane. Blink Echo to kill the creep wave? Huh. Interesting. The Ember Spirit was really under no threat. He's able to go down towards the bottom lane. That was interesting, I'll say. And probably a misclick? I mean, it does secure him the 4-staff farm, so farming Echo Slam is there. Maybe he's just getting a little antsy, and there isn't a great opportunity to use it, but now that Echo Slam's off cooldown, and Magnus is going to have his RP in 13 seconds, this might be a window for Monkey Freedom Fighters to make a play, and to make some sort of aggressive move onto the enemy side of the map. They have all of their tools available. Ember Spirit can join a fight, at least near a creep wave at the drop of a hat, and I think that's probably what they're going to do, although, who knows. Magnus is going to pop his Shadow Blade, looking onto the enemy side of the map. Is there very good vision for the Radiant team? It looks like the answer is no, and they have a dire sentry or a Rise. Could get into a lot of trouble with Blink Skewer. They bring the Winter Wyvern back in. She can't get off the curse and will be dropped down very low. Shallow Grave will buy them a little bit of time as they jump with the hook shot onto the Wind Ranger. The Winter Wyvern's able to fly over the top with the Arctic Burn, but still will be dropped down as Ember Spirit cleaves through with the Sleight of Fist. Buyback on the Winter Wyvern. They need a Winter's Curse inside this fight as Gyrocopter's going to pop his BKB, but gets RP'd. Partnered up with the Wind Ranger, they're not dealing that much damage towards them as the Ember Spirit is not in a good position to contest. Look at a double kill for Era, but now the BKBs have worn off. They'll get the Winter's Curse and IX Mike. They bring down the Clockwork very low and will kill him off with a couple where Arrow is chasing him down. A 1-for-3 exchange, although it does cost them a Winter Wyvern's buyback. It is worth it for NIP because the Gyrocopter and Wind Ranger are the ones who get so much gold. But look at that Sleight of Fist cleave. If that was there when those two heroes got RP'd, it could have been a disaster. Unfortunate for Rise that they just didn't have the follow-up damage for this. The Ember Spirit was too far away. Shackle in mid. Whew, that's a close call. 4-staff away by a Rise, and he's going to be just fine. Incredibly hard to pin down this Magus. Ember Spirit kills off the Gyrocopter. Oh my goodness, sorry for missing that. Sing Sing's going ham. Oh, I didn't think he'd reinitiate into that, and I suppose neither did NIP. The Gyrocopter is going to fall. I am so embarrassed, actually. That is such a big thing to miss on off of camera. That is going to mean that fight is a lot better for Monkey Freedom Fighters than originally anticipated. And they're the ones to get the advantage because Arrow really is the driving force inside these team fights for NIP. Once he pops the BKB and the flat cannon shots, everybody from Monkey Freedom Fighters is so very low, but isn't able to really stop any of that. Ember Spirit just with a quick remnant in, jump out, is able to assassinate the Gyro and get away home scot-free because NIP didn't have their CC heroes in position. They were chasing that Magnus, as was the camera. BKB's down for the Wind Ranger, however, so her ability to sustain herself and stay inside the middle of these fights is a lot longer. Pop the BKB, pop the Focus Fire, she's doing a good amount of damage inside these fights. But not a stellar amount. Really, it's not until you get the Daedalus until she's a super big threat. Running away by the Ember Spirit. He's under no real pressure since I think he saw the Winter Wyvern in mid lane at some point throw out a Splinter Blast, or even if he didn't, I don't think they really would have been able to catch him out unless they had the Earthshaker there with a Blink Echo. And he's top. The Tusk is going to be pushing out the top lane, almost a Blink Dagger on this Tusk. That could be huge for Monkey Freedom Fighters. As scary as the Winter's Curse is, if you find a good angle for the defensive snowball and pull your ally out of the Winter's Curse, that could be huge for Monkey Freedom Fighters. And there are a good amount of defensive skills on Monkey Freedom Fighters' side to keep this Ember Spirit alive and inside the fights, as Sing Sing propels himself towards the Daedalus. After a long period of silence, the Sing Sing Ember Spirit, especially after that solo kill on the enemy Gyrocopter, has managed to find himself a lot of farm towards his Daedalus. And once he has that Daedalus, the crits are going to be hurting so much. He's already swinging for 250 to pop a little bit of added damage as a smoke from Monkey Freedom Fighters will look to catch him out. They won't find him, but maybe they catch out a Rise. He's inside the trees, blinks up towards the north, right next to Demon, and both the Lina and the Magnus will get themselves out to safety. TP, the Fisher, is just not long enough to reach, and they're not going to be able to catch them out. Monkey Freedom Fighters a close escape down the bottom lane as they're starting to split push away from NIP. NIP are losing their control on the map, although they never really had a convincing presence to begin with. They're relying very heavily on their terrifying high ground fight and Roach Pit fight to take some of these objectives, and right now we just wait for the next pickoff, and we'll have to see where that comes from. I think we just keep all of our eyes on Arise's Magnus as the driving factor to look for that pickoff, and if not Magnus, maybe the Clockwork if you're looking for Monkey Freedom Fighters. But for NIP, they're hoping that the Earthshaker can find a good echo, but the Gyrocopter up towards top, blink, they'll skewer him back in. They don't even use the RP now. The Walrus Punch didn't even need the RP. They're saving it to cancel a BKB TP. They're gonna pull him out of the cogs right into the loving arms of Sing Sing. Shallow Grave is there. He doesn't have enough magic immunity left, however, and the Gyrocopter's very low. Shot shockwave from downtown, and Arise gets the godlike spree. Nicely sniped there, Arise, and should be feeling really good about that one. They'll get a Fisher to connect onto the Tusk. Monkey Freedom Fighters might lose a couple on the retreat, especially with a Shackle landing on IX Mike. Defensive Snowball wastes a lot of that Shackle's time, but it's going towards the enemy heroes and not towards the creeps. But the Winter Wyvern's not in a great position to begin with. The Tusk looks like he's going to give his life so IX Mike may live, and is going to die to the Splinter Blast of the Winter Wyvern. NIP will get something in return for that gyrocopter kill, but Ember Spirit's been working on your tier 2 tower mid, and Monkey Freedom Fighters get a vast tactical advantage from that last exchange. Although the gold going towards the Winter Wyvern is nice, I suppose, and very important to get this Glimmer Cape up and running. They really need that on their Wind Ranger and on their gyrocopter. Magnus has been hunting like this whole game. He's gonna look for a Blink Seer. Whew, that was close. He knows the Earthshaker's around the corner, but not gonna find him yet. Earthshaker will survive. Instead of going for the Daedalus, Sing Sing has actually gone for the Blink Dagger, and I think this is absolutely fine. It's one of those items that's never bad on any hero, and he catches out the Earthshaker with a little bit of vision from the creeps too, with one of those Sleight of Fist procs. Chasing forward, the Wind Ranger has a Shackle, but no Blink and no real way to get in range. He's so elusive with this Blink Dagger purchase that I really like it. There's a lot of scary initiating tools coming up from NIP, but if they can't reach the Ember Spirit, it doesn't matter how scary. In theory, a Blink Echo or Winter's Curse is going to be. Magnus will be going for a Refresher next. How scary have these single RPs be? Imagine how scary a double RP from Arise's Magnus is going to be in the next upcoming fights. Once that's online, of course. It is going to take a little bit of time. 7 minutes, maybe? Is just a ballpark guess. Who knows? Depends on how the pickoffs work in these next couple minutes of the game. 19-14, the kill score is still very even, and NIP, in theory, have a really good team at coming back even from a substantial disadvantage, which it is, at about 10,000 net worth in favor of Monkey Freedom Fighters and 7,500 in experience. We haven't seen that come into play because the Earthshaker has never really been in position for that great Echo Slam. We have seen a couple of good Echo Slams, but nothing that's going to stop Monkey Freedom Fighters' initiation because Magnus pulls them so far out of position with his skewers. The Dazzle's caught out in the sidelines. Tusk is going to punch him up in the air. The Cold Embrace will buy Dazzle a little bit of time, but now with a couple of Sleight of Fists, Winter Wyvern's going to be dropped low. Mid-animation of that Winter's Curse. Hook shot in. IX Mike going to find the Dazzle. The Shallow Grave is going to be popped. And nobody's dead yet. Winter's Curse on the Sing Sing, but the RP on the Gyrocopter is going to stop a lot of that follow-up. Sing Sing's able to get a remnant out towards the right-hand side. The Rocket Barrage is still there, and your Echo Slam under the Clockwork and the Tusk will drop them very low. Sing Sing will not dodge that Splinter Blast. It'll be lethal. He's not able to blink away. Magnus still trying to go for any of these kills they can, but walled up by the Fissure. Arise is very low. Will they buy detection? Do they need it? They need a little bit more AoE damage. Power Shot misses, and Arise lives on double-digit HP. How are you pulling this off? I think that's more dumb luck and the fact that NIP just didn't have detection. Still, that is a great fight for NIP, even though, again, Magnus is able to escape, much like the fight we saw in top lane where Magnus survives on very little amounts of HP. They lose Sing Sing, they lose the Tusk and the Clockwork, and now they're going to lose Roshan, the favor of ninjas in pajamas, as they take this major map objective for themselves. The Aegis the Immortal is going to make it a lot easier for them to siege high ground. Probably give it to the Gyrocopter, maybe give it to the Wind Ranger. I'm not sure if it makes too much of a difference. Just get the Aegis for somebody, as long as it's not in the hands of Sing Sing's Ember Spirit. He was able to do a lot of damage inside that fight, but not nearly enough. He ended up getting chased down, as the Echo Slam was there, and that time it was pretty darn good, as Earthshaker looks like he's going to be going towards what it seems to be. Huh? Oh no, he thinks better of it. No, it was looking like he was going to go for an Octarine. But doesn't quite have the gold for that Soul Booster. Still might be in the making, decides better of it, goes for the Glimmer Cape. I think this is a much safer option for the Earthshaker. Although, granted, I do love Octarine on Shaker as a late game purchase. Monkey Freedom Fighters have been repelled for a little while longer. Still, their Ember Spirit's at the top of the net worth chart. And once he has this Daedalus, the cleave is going to be insane, but maybe even more so is the fact that they have supports that are scaling with their item progression too. This Lina is very farm, neck and neck with the offlaners, the Earthshaker and the Clockwork, and leaps and bounds ahead of the Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle. She has a Yule's, she has an Aghanim Scepter. By no means would this be good or even close to it farm for a mid lane Lina. For support, this is stellar. 5-2 and 9. Demons had a relatively good game. A couple of missed light strikes here and there, but across the board, the play has been solid, and it really is very easy to follow up after these beautiful initiations. Ninjas in Pajamas are still on the back foot. Even though they turn one good fight, it's not enough to bring this game back to parity. 7,500 net worth advantage still in the favor of Monkey Freedom Fighters. And as long as the Ember Spirit lives, Monkey Freedom Fighters have a chance inside the engagements, and they're going to have that full data list on Sing Sing whenever he wants to purchase that up, and it might just be now. He's hitting for about 300 a pop with crit with nearly 100% cleave. It's 85% cleave to be exact, but no, Demon gets caught out. This is going to be a very dead Lina with the rocket barrage damage out to the fissure. That's a very straightforward kill. And with it, Ninja's Pajamas will be feeling a little bit more comfortable on this map, but only for a while. Roshan, the respawn is going to be so long since they're still sitting on this Aegis on the Wind Ranger. But can they transition this pickup on the Lina into high ground? I don't think so, but maybe a tier 2 tower. Maybe they'll be able to take this outer structure as Monkey Freedom Fighters are trying their best to split push top, but can't really do it. The focus fire now into this tower is going to do a consistent amount of damage. Although not explosive, Wind Ranger doesn't have the greatest damage items, it's still going to be able to take it. Ninjas and Pajamas get a pick off, they get a tower, you can't really ask for much more. 20 to 18, they're getting this game closer towards being even. Sing Sing is tasty bait in the top lane for an Invis Magnus if not enough heroes come back. But they're going to decide against it because they don't know where the enemy team is. But neither does IX Mike around the corner, and Earthshaker is going to glimmer into the camp, and oh, Clockwork. Echo Slam, follow up with the Fissure, Enchant Totem hit. He can't quite get the Enchant Totem off because of the battery assault. The power shot misses, but the Shackle doesn't. So IX Mike is going to get punched down sooner rather than later. Oh, he turns for the hook shot. The mechanism from the Tusk. IX Mike still survives for a little while longer. One Enchant Totem will be the death of him, but they get the return kill as it took so long to kill off that Clockwork that Monkey Freedom Fighters were able to respond. They get a chain still lined up onto this Wind Ranger. Magnus, blink. He gets the skewer back. Where's the follow-up from the team? Ice Shards are there, going to off the Wind Ranger a little bit, but not enough. She has the Dazzle. She has the Winter Wyvern, so Wind Ranger is going to be just fine. That was a lot more even than it should have been. It's really so hard to play Earthshaker against Clockwork for just that reason. Your cast animations are way too long. It's so very agonizing to watch an Earthshaker try to get a Fissure, try to get an Enchant Totem when the battery assault's ticking. Mid lane, oof. Close call. Blink out by a Rise. He's going to find a Haste Rune 4 staff away. It's almost impossible, I want to say, to keep tabs on this Magnus. Wherever he runs, he's so hard to keep track of with the mass amount of mobility that he has. Sing Sing actually not going to go for the Daedalus as I'd expected with that damage. It's going to be a Monkey King Bar. This is going to deal with the Wind Run coming out from the Wind Ranger. Gyrocopter still has no evasion, but I think this is a reasonable purchase for Sing Sing. Although, let's see if he's going to be safe in this top lane. He blinks aggressively into the creep wave, will clear this out, has a Remnant, and will be just fine. It's so hard to catch him. It really is. In the meantime, Demon just doing Demon things, pushing out beyond where the tier 2 tower once stood, is safe in doing so because Ninjas in Pajamas don't have the intel required to punish that movement. They don't also have the manpower there. Successful split push coming out from Demon. Now, Monkey Freedom Fighters are probably just waiting for this Magnus Refresher Orb. Once they have the Refresher on Magnus, they can very easily go for some kills. But it is also worth noting that Arise, he's been playing so well that he has such a large streak that if NIP are able to end it, it's going to be a massive amount of gold for them. Godlike now, and probably by the next fight, I'd expect Beyond Godlike to be coming out for Arise. It's just so fun to watch this guy play Magnus. Well, for NIP, they still have the Aegis, but not for much long. Oh my god, that crit. That's a lot of damage. Ember Spirit is no joke, guys, especially when he has in power, and this is a small taste of things to come. With a Refresher ulti coming out from Arise's mag, and then you throw Battle Fury Cleave on top of that with the Sleight of Fist, it's gonna be gross if Monkey Freedom Fighters catch 3 heroes. Inside that combo, it's just a straight up one fight. Ninjas in Pajamas are still protecting this Wind Ranger, but her Aegis has since expired. And Ninjas in Pajamas now are the ones that need to be afraid. This Magnus Refresher Orb is going to be coming out very, very shortly, and even without it, they're taking down a stack of Ancients on the enemy side. Of course, it's not a huge stack, but a triple stack of Ancients for the Ember Spirit is nothing to shake a stick at, and he's already up to enough gold for almost another Demon Edge on top of his Monkey King Bar completion. Ember Spirit might go for a Lincoln Sphere after the Daedalus, but for the most part it's working out for him until he gets Winter's Curse, Echo Slam, shackled to a tree, Sing Sing down. Here's a 3-man RP. The fall damage isn't there unless they have Sing Sing here, and he's going to buy back. The Laguna Blade going to drop the Wind Ranger very low. Cold Embrace still sustaining her for a little while longer, but here's Sing Sing, and here's the Beyond Godlike Mag. Hook shot in. They'll cleave down the Dazzle. They're dropping like flies. They really just can't stand against this raw amount of damage. Similar to a Spectre, it's so nice to be able to have buyback on Ember Spirit because he's able to join the fight so quickly, and immediately after that engagement, they have a refresher on this mag. I don't think NIP expect to be dealing with another RP in the next fight, which they very well might have to. Still, since it costs them the buyback in the Ember Spirit, it is a very hefty investment. 1,800 gold lost in that last fight for him, but if they can kill this Gyrocopter, that means next to nothing. The chains are going to miss. Ember Spirit needs to be a little bit careful, but here comes Alina, so does Era. He stands alone against the entire enemy team, although the buyback situation for NIP is pretty good. Monkey Freedom Fighters have a big window of opportunity where they're ready and willing to start pushing. Chains gonna connect onto Era again, but not going to net them any sort of kill. Sing Sing right now recognizes the fact that even though he just recently bought back and isn't getting as much gold from this, they can't kill him unless they throw literally everything at him, which they did when they went for that dive on the tier 2 tower with the Winter's Curse, the Echo Slam. That's the amount of lockdown they need to keep Sing Sing at bay. Even with not very many stat items, not very many defensive items at all from the Ember Spirit, I think the closest you can call the defensive is the Blink Dagger. But even that has mixed utility. He's, at the end of the day, a level 23 hero that has so much stats and is fairly difficult to deal with, even though Ember Spirit's stat gain is nothing really to write home about. They smoke up, they have the refresher, they have 2 RPs for this next fight. Monkey Freedom Fighters, if they take an engagement now, NIP, it might all be over for them. They have buyback of the Wind Ranger and the Gyrocopter and the Earthshaker on top of it all. But I'm not sure they expect this. I don't think they've seen the Magnus refresher, although maybe they did with this deep ward. Let's see how this fight ends up. Lina, Tusk, Clockwork sitting on this high ground. The rest of the heroes are playing very defensively postured. NIP seem to know which angle they're coming from. Pink's coming out for the Magnus. He gets the RP, it completely whiffs. But maybe it's baited after all. He's going to have a refresher and still has an RP available for this fight, but doesn't really want to use it. Wind Ranger's going to be far ahead from the team. Gets a focus fire onto IX Mike. The Clockwork is going to be dropped low, but returns a little bit of damage. Call down kills off the clock with the first missile. They'll get the Lacuna Blade under the Wind Ranger. This is a 1-for-1 exchange. Blink Echo onto Sing Sing, but an RP refresh. Arise is going to catch out too. Sing Sing really wants to get back in this engagement, can't quite. He's stunned on the other end by the homing missile. Snowball is going to keep one in place, but it's a Winter Wyvern, a couple of crits, the Battle Fury Cleave, double kill for Arise! And they're going to find a couple more. The Gyrocopter's in the air, drop down, the Light Strike Array misses, but it doesn't matter. With the amount of damage they have, they pull him back into the Sing Sing Ember and rip him to shreds. Rodon is not quite up. It's not going to be up for a couple more seconds as Monkey Freedom Fighters take a really big engagement, most purely off of the fact that Sing Sing is stacked. The amount of damage this guy is pushing out, even without the RPs being awesome, like they were good. Not the first one, of course, that didn't hit anything, but the second one was good. Just the skewers and the empower on Sing Sing is so scary. They buy back in the Earthshaker, but what does that actually matter? He's going to remnant back closer towards his team. He doesn't want to get caught out here with the Earthshaker initiation with like a buyback from the Gyrocopter, but still, Monkey Freedom Fighters win the engagement, and this Magnus has not died yet. 12-0 and 9, beyond godlike. I don't think anybody expected anything less of Rise's mag, but this is an exceptionally good game. Earthshaker. Ooh, he's gonna get the stun onto Sing Sing, and will not be going down here. But the tier 3 will. Sing Sing, with just a couple swipes of his swords, will be able to mop that up very easily. They look for the shackle, not gonna happen. Ember Spirit has since remnanted back towards his allies. Wind Ranger is going to pause. That'll give me a little bit of time to take a drink. Thanks for tuning in here to the GameShow _D2EN channel on Azubu. Back to this game, Wind Ranger is going to reconnect, but it still looks like Monkey Freedom Fighters need a bit of a second to recollect and get ready to go for the next round of fights. The refresher orb for the Magnus is going to be on cooldown for, give or take, a little bit less than 2 minutes. So it feels like Monkey Freedom Fighters are going to take things a little bit slower. But, I mean, they probably just go take Roshan. They have 1 RP, at the very least, up in 20 seconds. NIP should be feeling pretty good about them, or pretty good about their ability to take fights in closed quarters usually. But this game maybe not so much. Even though they have this Echo Slam and Winter's Curse, it's almost exclusively safe for them to try to kill off Ember Spirit. And the idea is definitely right there. For NIP, the majority of Monkey Freedom Fighters' damage is coming out from this Ember. But he still has a team behind him that are doing quite well for themselves at just controlling how the fights go after that initiation. NIP need to make sure that they burst down Sing Sing if they are going to commit their Echo Slam Winter's Curse like that. The good to go is going to be called by Arise, and we'll be moving on in just a second into this game. 30-21 is our kill score. Monkey Freedom Fighters are the team with momentum. Every single one of their heroes has farm. Even the Tusk has Guardian Greaves, Blink, and Gem. The same can't be said especially for the Dazzle. Poor Dazzle. Right now he has Arcane Boots, Magic Wand, Cloak. These are fine items to have on Dazzle like 15 minutes of the game. It's 3 times as long as that. Monkey Freedom Fighters. They're just gonna wait out for this refresher RP before they really want to force the issue, but right now they might be strong enough to get some map control back down. With the gem being controlled, one on either side, keeping wards on this map is almost impossible. In fact, I don't think we have a single one down. This is not because these teams are not trying to get wards, but it is just the nature of how gems work. This is going to, however, tilt the favor back towards Monkey Freedom Fighters because they have natural tools to get vision. The Ember Spirit's remnants inside the pit could spot out when Roshan is being attempted by them. They have Ice Shards, they have Sigil, they have Clockwork's Flare. And for NIP, their vision tools, although available, aren't nearly as impressive. You have the Ultimate from the Dazzle, which is great, don't get me wrong, and the Power Shot from the Wind Ranger. But there is just so much coming out from Monkey Freedom Fighters. Hopefully the VoIP issues for Monkey Freedom Fighters will subdue, and it looks like we're going to be back in business. NIP are inside the Roshan pit. They're considering going for it, but I believe it was spotted out by IX Makes Clockwork, and up towards top, they're taking some pretty substantial damage. This range barracks, if nothing else, is going to be dropped down very low. They won't be able to get it, but that damage is going to stick, down to 368 after the Ember Spirit and Magnus are forced to pull back. Monkey Freedom Fighters keep on getting better trades when it comes to map control, and at one point I wonder, do these teams ban out Arise's Magnus against him very early on inside the draft? It was one of the first picks coming in from Monkey Freedom Fighters. If you first ban the Magnus, maybe you let through something like a Doom through. Is that really a trade you want to make? This game, maybe, for NIP, although I'm not sure if we could even theory craft how the game would have gone if this was a Doom instead of a Mag. NIP are still sitting on a Gyrocopter that's getting a good amount. Era has enough gold almost to finish up the Monkey King bar, but he wouldn't have buyback if he decides to do that. We'll still need quite a lot before he has enough gold for the MKB and the surplus, but down towards bottom, Demon's going to get caught out a little bit. They guess the wrong direction. Demon just casually blinks out towards the left. If that's daytime, I don't think that happens, but up towards top, you need to handle Sing Sing as well as Arise. They take down your range barracks, and they take your melee down to half. Although that melee barracks is going to start reaching, and that's nice and all. Monkey Freedom Fighters might just be able to find a fight if they're just caught a little bit out of position. They're playing the rat game, and this is working nicely for them. Sing Sing is going to sustain a missile from the Gyrocopter, which is 3 points into it, does a good amount of damage, but nothing that Ember Spirit really cares about. Ember Spirit is almost 6-slotted. He still has the Aquila to replace, but that's about it. We've reached a bit of a lull in the action. 47 minutes into the game. This is a situation where Monkey Freedom Fighters don't want to risk losing the advantage that they made by going for an unfruitful high ground push, and I don't blame them in the slightest with the Blink Winter's Curse and with the Blink Echo Slam. They're going to wait until they can get this Roshan, but they probably can't do that either until they force TPs away by NAP, maybe up to the top lane, but up towards top. Ooh, Sing Sing might be in a little bit of trouble here. He has a Remnant. They know about this Remnant, I want to say. He's just going to TP out straight from the Gyrocopter. There's no way for Dazzle to cancel it, although the Heal Bomb does a lot of damage as the Creep Wave follows him. Sing Sing is going to be just fine. They need the Winter Wyvern, they need the Earthshaker if they're going to go for that kill, and if they had them, that could have been disastrous for Sing Sing, but is going to survive. The state of this game doesn't change until somebody gets caught out of position, until somebody like Sing Sing up in that top lane is caught out by an Echo Slam, or if one of NIP's heroes, as they go out split pushing, is caught out by an RP from the Magnus. Arise is going to make his way up towards the top lane. Boots of Travel are going to be available soon for the Ember Spirit, 10 seconds, so they still could look to take a fight. But look at how much damage those crits do, my goodness. 1,000 damage crits on the creeps. That's gross. That is really gross. The Shadowblade of Magnus is a much less effective initiating tool right now, but still pretty good for moving around the map because they know there's not sentry vision down on the ground, but inside the fights there is a gem. They're going to look to catch somebody out. Blink, Fissure is going to tag the Magnus. Forced after way, however, this Magnus probably won't be in any trouble, and in fact, considers turning around if they were still going to chase him. He's going to take the missile admirably next to his tier 2 tower, and now he's going to chill with the rest of his team. For Magnus's next item, however, I might like to see a Scythe or a Lincoln Sphere. It depends on what Magnus wants to do. Assault Cuirass is also a really good item for him to pick up. Just some sort of utility for the team that's going to help the Ember Spirit survive. Or Ember Spirit deal a little bit more damage. It depends what floats his boat. Monkey Freedom Fighters are smoked up. They might be able to catch out the Gyrocopter here. They do know that Kaldan was committed for this top wave, so they expect the Gyrocopter to be backing right about now. Gyrocopter could get caught out here. He's going to walk towards the jungle camps. RP's there, Light Strike, Laguna, and everything in the kitchen sink thrown to get a very easy kill onto this Gyro. Down the sidelines, but he does have buyback. It's by no means not over for NIP, especially since they're going to kill the Clockwork in the meantime. Ix Mank will turn a good amount of damage to that Blade Mail, but not enough. Will go down, even with the Force Staff to low ground. Monkey Freedom Fighters have another RP that can be primed and ready if Arise finds a good angle. The Dazzle is so low, the Dragon Slave will miss. Winter's Curse will be thrown, but a nice defensive snowball. The Echo Slam will be committed onto Sing Sing. They'll bring down the big Ember Spirit. He's down the sidelines for 2 minutes. Here's your RP from Arise. They buy back in the Ember. One of Boots to travel back in. They've already committed most of their big spells. Jimmy going to find himself the kill on the Dazzle, but maybe at the cost of his own life. He's going to be shackled to a tree. They don't commit the focus fire for it, yet eventually will, as Gyrocopter gets the dominating spree off of him. They need to make sure they get out safely. This is the Ember Spirit who's on buyback, and his cooldown time would be ridiculous. Still, Arise and Sing Sing are going to be able to make it out towards the left-hand side, and also the Tusk will survive. That could have gone either way. The end tally is going to be the buyback on the Ember Spirit traded for the buyback on the Gyrocopter. Maybe slightly favoring NIP because they're going to go into this Roshan pit afterwards, as Monkey Freedom Fighters are in no real situation to where they can fully contest this push. Or fully contest this Roshan, rather, while the Magnus and the Ember Spirit are pushing top lane. They're going to get a second life for the Gyrocopter. Surprisingly enough, I believe that was only the second Roshan of the game. No cheese on anybody. Divine Rapier Gyrocopter. He's made his choice. He actually sells his MKB for it. I don't think there's any evasion on Monkey Freedom Fighters, or does he give his MKB to somebody else? No, it looks like he sells it. Gyrocopter's had enough, and he's ready. Oh, Rice needs to reconnect. This is such a delicate game with Divine Rapier. It really is. If you give that Divine to the Ember Spirit, NIP pretty much just straight up lose, and Ember might even be considering going for that himself, although probably another Daedalus for Sing Sing here. Oh, the Gyrocopter needs to be so careful. I mean, this is the way to do it. You have the Aegis, you have your second life to deal a lot of damage with that flat cannon towards the Monkey Freedom Fighter's side. This is a very all-in move, and it's probably the play that NIP need to bring them to win this game. If they kill off Ember Spirit now, game over. Ember Spirit doesn't have buyback for 6 minutes near enough. NIP need to catch out Sing Sing, and Sing Sing needs to not get caught out. It really is just to protect the Ember for Monkey Freedom Fighters, and protect the Gyro if you're rooting for Nip. Both of these carries function in a very similar fashion inside these fights, with a lot of spread damage towards all of these targets, but both of them are dealing so much single target as well that it's really hard to call who wins the exchange, although Gyrocopter with the Rapier and the Aegis probably wins my vote. NIP. Oh, this is a situation, I'd say. Smoking up with the Winter Wyvern, they really want to catch out this Ember, and right now, Monkey Freedom Fighters might consider just grouping up and not split pushing nearly as much as they have previously. If they know this Gyrocopter has Divine, and he is going to walk in the middle lane, they should know about it now if they didn't already, and I think they did. Magnus is around the corner, has not a double RP for about a minute. This is a pretty bad time for Monkey Freedom Fighters to take a fight. NIP, if they're able to push now, would be able to get a significant lead towards their side, but right now, the building structural damage towards either side is really not substantial on either side of the map. If we take a look, the only barracks that has fallen is the range barracks up top lane. Chains will connect on the Winter Wyvern, blinking forward. They'll fish for the Fisher, but not going to get an opening now. Monkey Freedom Fighters, for the first time in a long time, are the team that's on the back foot. Although the graph's being less and less now that we're at about that 50-minute late game mark, it really has stagnated, and experience is close to even. This advantage really means next to nothing for Monkey Freedom Fighters because of the Divine Rapier Aegis on the Gyrocopter, and NIP are going to go high ground here. They need to try and stop this, although the Battle Fury Cleave is going to make it a little bit more difficult for NIP to break this backdoor protection. Are they comfortable enough now to go? The Gyrocopter is going to start shooting a couple of bullets with the focus fire from the Wind Ranger. The tower is dropping low. They'll lose the tier 3, but a blink and skewer. They'll pull the Wind Ranger back. Not quite going to be able to commit, though. Now working for the melee barracks. Laguna Blade, they bring down the Aegis so quick. Oh dear! Gyrocopter, Light Strike Ray is going to land perfectly timed. He can't get off his BKB. The Winter's Curse is around. They have the Shallow Grave. Can Era stand long enough? They need to get out of here. The Gyrocopter is so low and has no more Aegis to fall back on. NIP, although they kill off the Tusk, sure, that's nice. They need to deal with this top lane as their melee barracks is getting wailed upon by these creeps. Whew! Aghanim Scepter, Laguna Blade as strong as always, I see, Demon. And they'll be able to take down that second life. Now the game gets increasingly harder for Ninjas in Pajamas. That stun was so nicely timed after the Aegis, too. Yeah, really nice. But now the Gyrocopter has no safety net. He's walking on the tightrope with nobody and nothing under him if he falls. If he dies here, the game is just straight up over. There's no buyback for 3 minutes on him. And if they give a Rapier to this Ember Spirit, I don't think buyback even matters. The Ember Spirit will be able to take down your building so quickly, even though he doesn't have any steroid for dealing damage to towers, maybe like the Focus Fire of the Wind Ranger. It doesn't matter when you're hitting with plus 330 damage, is it, on top of your already plus 328? Pretty balanced. They find the Dazzle RP. They're going to get this kill on the Dazzle sooner rather than later. Another situation where they don't have a lot of detection, but now that it's in range, I believe... no, they actually don't have a gem. They didn't have detection. They just wear it out. They're going to kill him off. Now Wind Ranger jumps in. Shackle isn't going to latch onto Demon. The Lina is going to find Evil Scepter. The call down from the Gyrocopter. They need to give him a lot of space here, as Monkey Freedom Fighters have no interest in dueling against a Divine Rapier Gyro. The Clockwork is going to take the missile. Shackled to retreat. Iax Mike is going to go down with a couple more shots even without the Focus Fire. Clockwork has buyback, however. Dazzle does not. This is a 4 versus 5 situation for NIP, and the Gyrocopter is left a little deep behind enemy lines as the Ember Spirit and company are pushing top. What an exciting game right now. Monkey Freedom Fighters and NIP are on the verge of ending this. Really, NIP already up 1 game. The second win means a lot more for them than the first in this group stage. They'll get 2 points if they're able to pull this game through. This Octarine Core on the Earthshaker. We haven't seen it really come into play, but it's so consistent how he's able to get off his combo. An 82-second cooldown really means not much of anything. They can use that very liberally to find pickoffs, but there just aren't very many openings. These teams are so hard to crack right now because they don't know next to anything about the whereabouts of their opponents. Each team has 1 word apiece on the map, although I don't think Monkey Freedom Fighters are walking around with a gem anymore. Never mind, I stand corrected. The Tusk does have the true side up before him. Monkey Freedom Fighters are ready to keep on split pushing, as they have been for a long time. Roshan's going to respawn in 4 minutes. This is a fairly short Roshan respawn timer. I don't think a long or a short respawn timer really means much for either of these teams. It's probably about the same no matter what. It really just depends on who gets the pickoffs beforehand. In this situation, neither of these teams can play aggressively until they have the buyback cooldowns for the Ember Spirit and for the Gyrocopter. Although Ember Spirits probably means more than Gyros since he's packing the Divine Rapier. Ember Spirit has enough gold if Sing Sing wants to go for a Rapier too. He has that option for him, but I think the more important item for Sing Sing is buyback, as it usually is in these late game scenarios. Running away. Sing Sing's going to be fine, even though he was almost detected by the Wind Ranger. Back towards the rest of his team. Monkey Freedom Fighters are a little bit grouped up. Magnus has had his Refresher RP up for a long time, and there's a double damage rune in this top spot. Give that to Sing Sing. It's gonna hurt. And now dropping power on top of him, plus 445 damage with 85% cleave and dataless crits. It's absurd. It really is. If Monkey Freedom Fighters can find the initiation, but neither team have been able to. They're so clumped that if a single fight breaks out, it's not going to be a pickoff, really. It's going to be an absolute disaster. I guess maybe the team decides that whoever gets jumped is not important enough to save at that point if they have buyback. Like if the Wind Ranger gets jumped here, in theory, although nobody's close enough and it's not going to happen, they might be able to just make the choice like, hey, the Wind Ranger can get back to this game. We might as well not lose the Dazzle or not lose the Earthshaker who don't have buyback. Monkey Freedom Fighters keep up the pressure in the top lane. We'll drop a defensive remnant, but here's the smoke for the Lina. This might be able to find a good opportunity for Rise as he charges forward with the Shadow Blade. He finds the RP. He brings back the Gyrocopter. Winter's Curse is not going to save Gyrocopter's life. He can't get anything off. Cold Embrace is going to buy him a little bit more time. Can they actually save him? He has the Satanic available. Will he be able to get these right clicks off? He's healing a lot off of Sing Sing. Double kill for the Wind Ranger. She mops up the Beyond Godlike from Arise. The Fissure will connect, and somehow their defensive supports, they keep this Gyrocopter on his toes and now snowball forward. They're trying to get this Tusk out to safety. They won't be able to. That's 3 kills for NIP. The Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle saving the day. My goodness, I didn't think they'd be able to, but they commit the Laguna Blade so early on inside that all of the damage that was left after was purely physical from the Ember Spirit, and so that Cold Embrace really is what saved the day for them. Oh. Buybacks are available for the Ember Spirit, even if he did go down, but he still stands and is going to have enough gold for his next item and buyback very shortly as he farms up inside the woods, has 3,200 inside surplus gold for him to be able to exhaust towards his next Demon Edge item. But I don't think that even matters. Right now, the fact that NIP kill off the Magnus, maybe most importantly, is huge for them. Still, the golden experience graphs aren't incredibly useful. It's all about how these teams react to getting jumped. It really is. In that last exchange, NIP have a beautiful counter initiation. That Winter's Curse, although it doesn't stop the Skewer from going back, the Magnus is still able to pull the Gyrocopter out of position. It does stop the second RP, which is critical for them being able to save the Gyrocopter's life. If you have a refresh, RP, and another Skewer, there is no way the Dazzle gets in range for that Grave, and no real way that the Winter Wyvern's able to get a Cold Embrace at the timing window that they needed it, and they needed it pretty much exactly as it dropped. A little bit of panic there for Monkey Freedom Fighters as they weren't able to stop the Gyrocopter from abusing his Satanic and getting up to high amounts of HP. We have a Scythe of Vicerus. Wind Ranger is her last item. She is going to buy out for it. Doesn't have buyback for about 1,000 golds. This could be a bit of a sketchy spot, but it is such a huge initiating tool, especially for Sing Sing, who's been riding without any defensive items, and now we have the second Rapier of the game. It's on the Ember Spirit. Both of these teams cannot afford to lose their safe lane carries inside these fights, but how do you push high ground against these teams? It really is so very hard. It's almost impossible. Earthshaker, Winter Wyvern, Magnus. If I had to list 3 initiating heroes that I did not want to push high ground into, that's probably the top 3, especially if it's a Rise's mag. And NIP are no slouches either. Their defensive play has been mostly on point. And what carries do you not want to push high ground into? Ember Spirit, Gyrocopter, incredibly good at clearing out creep waves. It's so hard to call who gets an advantage this game. It depends on how these smokes happen, and right now NIP have a small window where maybe they're able to catch out some of these heroes from Monkey Freedom Fighters. They're grouping up presumably for a smoke of their own, but Monkey Freedom Fighters aren't going to get caught out. Right now NIP are standing on the wrong ramp and they won't find anything yet. They'll Glimmer Cape the Earthshaker, trying to find this angle. They're going to bump into their team soon, and the smoke is going to pop. They look for the Fisher. Echo Slam is completely whiffed by the Earthshaker. Laguna Blade will be thrown, but really does next to nothing. The Earthshaker's initiation off of the table. Maybe they can do something about it, as the Tusk is going to be chased towards the top of this fight. But maybe the backlines are more important. The Tusk is continuing to blink away as the RP comes out from Magnus. He's going to get the Battle Break Lead. Oh my goodness! The damage onto the Gyrocopter and Winter Wyvern's huge, but the Satanic, the Gyrocopter still survives. The second RP is going to miss. Arise is going to not be able to find that kill. And right now, this is such a tense situation. Another kill for Sing Sing as he gets the double. The Divine Rapier Cleave is stupid. They're chasing forward, trying to catch the Wind Ranger, but they're not going to be able to find it. The Gyrocopter has since backed off into his base to save his top racks, but Monkey Freedom Fighters do it. My goodness, if that second RP connects, disaster for NIP. The Gyrocopter would have lost his Rapier, and that's pretty much it. They're going to get an Aegis. They probably need to give this to Sing Sing. It's so hard to call what you drop on the Ember Spirit between the Boots of Travel and the Blink Dagger. Both of them are so very useful for him inside the fights. We'll have to see what Sing Sing decides upon. Or maybe they give the Aegis to somebody different altogether, but I think it really just has to be the Ember Spirit. He is their damage output after all. No, it's going to be a Rise's Mag. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. This is going to make sure he's able to get those initiations off as reliably as possible. He's going to have that Linken's for soon. I really like the Linken's pickup. If they're not going to have an Aegis on the Ember Spirit, at least give him that effective 7th slot that is held by the mag, so that they won't be able to get a Blink Winter's Curse or a Blink Shackle or a Blink Scythe onto Sing Sing. There's so many good single target ways that NIP have of getting on top of this Ember Spirit that need to be blocked. Monkey Freedom Fighters have been repelled, at least for now, by NIP. The situation still is the same, where it's so hard to push high ground into these teams. We're a minute into the game. Nobody has taken a melee barracks. The melee barracks up towards top still stands. Melee barracks in mid still stand, and nobody has a substantial lead. Even though, of course, the gold is slightly in favor of Monkey Freedom Fighters, this is one of the closest graphs you're ever going to see in a game of Dota, period, at this stage in the game. 5,000 net worth advantage for one team, 5,000 experience advantage for the other, means nothing. It's all about who finds the jump. It's all about who has the rapiers. It's all about who's able to hold on to those rapiers. Oh, and it's all about buyback too. Right now, the status for both teams is pretty good. Both Gyrocopter and Ember Spirit have buyback, even without their Divines, can still do a lot of damage, and Ember Spirit's getting to the point where he almost has enough gold for him to be able to buy back and then buy another damage item to replace the Divine. Maybe not a big one, but at least a small Crystallis would be available. His Monkey Freedom Fighters are finally putting some pressure on this top lane, but one barracks doesn't do it. If NIP need to, they can give away this Rax, but they don't want to. They have a very scary amount of team fight going their way too, although the Battle Fury Cleave's going to mop up the creep wave. The aggro will be pulled off. This is such a tense situation. Really tense. Nobody's made the move yet. They're sitting very defensively inside their base as they have to. NIP cannot afford to be caught out right now. If we take a look at their vision, they have no wards outside of their base. It's terrifying. But for now, they are going to TP the Ember Spirit back towards the well. Interesting. He has his Remnant here too. What is Sing Sing going to buy? Looks like he wants to replace either the Blinker Boots of Travel, maybe... Oh, Battle Fury, actually. He's got to buy a second Divine Rapier. Why not? He already has the Cleave coming out from the Magnus. Go whole hog. This is Sing Sing... putting it all on the table. Let's see if it's going to be enough. Yeah, scratch that about having buyback and then a second damage item to replace it. He has two Divines, which might be a little bit better. It is very risky. If he had the Aegis, I'd say this is probably a more reasonable move. But even with the Aegis, can they push high ground? I don't think so. This is such a stalemate. Who actually can do anything about this? I think it just relies on somebody making a positional error, and maybe Gyrocopter will make that top. He walks out a little far. The Magnus might have been able to find an initiation angle onto him, but won't quite get in range. Arise has an Invis-Rune, has his Shadow Blade, has all of the initiation tools on the table, and has the Aegis, so he is the one that's allowed to posture this aggressively. Still NIP. Don't know where the enemy team is. This Magnus could jump out of nowhere if he finds the opportunity, and it looks like they're itching to go. But Monkey Freedom Fighters also don't have a lot of vision. They're going to get the Blink Force. RP, but with the turnaround sight, they're going to focus down Arise with the Focus Fire. He is going to be dropped very low. Power Shot, not quite lethal. He lives on double digits HP. They bring down the Winter Wyvern. IX might with that kill. They'll bring down the Magnus's Aegis, sure, but maybe they can go for round 2. Beaver Knight jumps in. Oh. There's a disgusting amount of damage coming out from that one crit of the double Divine Ember Spirit. Monkey Freedom Fighters are pushing in this top lane, and they're ready and raring to go. Winter's Curse is a crucial part of NIP's team fight, but they do have buyback. Hookshot going to be absorbed by the Lina. Maybe Clockwork didn't even want that to connect, even if he did throw it out. The buyback of the Winter Wyvern might catch them off guard. NIP are trying to defend this melee barracks, but really the melee barracks is just a false objective for Monkey Freedom Fighters to take. What they really want here is somebody to die back, and for them to be able to take the fight after. But a Blinking Echo catches out too. The Earthshaker, however, the follow-up isn't quite there. With the Hex on to Jimmy, they're going to be able to bring down this Lina in an instant. Unstoppable spree for the Wind Ranger. Blinking Winter's Curse, they catch out Sing Sing. Can you focus him? With the Divine, you bet you can! Both Divines on the deck! The RP is going to be thrown. Arise can't really do that much. They need to secure these Divines for Ember Spirit, and he picks up both of them! Oh my goodness! It didn't matter that he died because he's able to buy back and stag them just the same. They didn't have any slots to pick them up. Though Yule's Scepter up the Earthshaker trying to secure the retreat, but that fight means next to nothing except for Ember Spirit's buyback being forced because he's able to reclaim those swords. But the Fissure cancels his TP. Do they know Sing Sing's here? He doesn't have another TP. The Enchant Totem connects. Beaver Knight's inside the trees. They don't have vision of him yet, though. They don't know. He blinks over the top of him with the weave. They now know that Beaver Knight's in the corner. The Enchant Totem's there. The Fissure's there. Sing Sing, can you survive? Oh, this is so tense. He's going to look to get out of here, but one Enchant Totem hit, and the Divines again are going to hit the deck. This time they're stuck inside the trees, but it doesn't matter. That's a dieback on Sing Sing and NIP. This is their game. How do they lose this now? I don't think they can. Without the Ember Spirit, Monkey Freedom Fighters just can't hold. They don't even need those Divine Rapiers to be picked up by anybody. And they're just stuck in the trees up there. Who cares? Go down, go bottom lane, take the tier 3, take the throne. Why don't you just ignore their barracks there and go straight for the tier 4s? And they will. NIP are doing it. The tier 3 towers are falling. Magnus is here with the Shadow Blade, but he doesn't have a single RP to throw out towards the enemy team. They're going to screw it back in the Wind Ranger. That's nice and all. They get the hookshot to follow up. Wind Ranger is important, but it's not important as the Divine Gyrocopter is taking down your tier 4s. The buildings are falling. The throne is exposed. NIP are doing it. And Monkey Freedom Fighters have no real way to stop this. They'll try to delay. They jump in with the IX Mike. The Shackle doesn't latch. It doesn't matter. They're focus firing down the Ancient. There is no glyph. There is no hope. Monkey Freedom Fighters has lost this game with 2 drops of the Divine Rapiers. Blink and RP. It doesn't matter. GG! And that's going to be the end of the series. What an exciting finish. I thought for sure losing the Ember Spirit's life the first time would have been what did it, but he was able to secure those rapiers trying to escape, but that TP cancel from the Earthshaker secures it for Ninjas in Pajamas. What an exciting series. NIP secure at 2-0, but by no means was this a stomp. This was a very close series and a lot of fun to watch. Thanks for joining me here on the Game Show Azubu channel. I've been GrandisV. If you like the cast, you can find me on Twitter at GrandisV, and I'll keep you up to date with where I'm going live. And after this, it's not all for today. We're going to have T-Show versus Elite Wolves from the American region of the Game Show Global Esports Cup here very shortly. Thanks for tuning in, and that'll be it for now. We're saying goodbye to Europe, moving on to Americas, and yeah, see you later, guys. It was a pleasure.